Hey everybody, this is John Salmon of 60 Marketing. Thanks for jumping on with me today. What I want to talk to you about here today is website speed. I know, starting off the new year with a website speed discussion, right? But what we're trying to do here is give you some tips and insights for what little things you can do and like small, things you wouldn't necessarily think about, tweaking those things to bring big improvements to your overall internet marketing campaign. So, there's so many different things, as you know, and I'm sure you have a game plan for 2023 already. There's so many different things you can do. But I want to talk to you about website speed because it can be, like I said before, very, very important. You don't necessarily think about it because when everybody thinks about website speed and where they need to be, it doesn't need to take forever to load, right? It's, as long as you're not doing that, fundamentally, and people aren't sitting on your site for 10 minutes waiting for a page to load like back in the good old 90s, you're in a good spot. But for where we're at right now and opportunities out there, we want to get the site speed a lot faster. We're instead of carb loading before the race, we're doing it the night before, right? A little office humor, right? Reference to get us going in 2023. We need that, right? And coffee, more coffee. So website speed, things to know, just inherently, this isn't necessarily the biggest priority for a website developer. I could say that. I used to be solely focused on doing website development earlier in my career. Now, it has become more well known that you need to code out a website so it loads quickly, but it's not always the first thing that's a priority. A better site experience, constructing the site and building it efficiently so it doesn't break. Those are priorities first, and those are good priorities. But it's something to always keep in mind is that, what are the opportunities left? Website speed. The speed can fluctuate depending upon the page that you're on the site. So keep that in mind too. Is if you're, and we'll talk about some tools here in a second. If you're using some of these tools and your home page looks good or an inner page looks good, speed-wise, it may not be every single page on the website has that type of speed. So don't assume just because one page and you're testing it loads quickly that all the other rest of the pages load exactly the same. Because we're constantly adding content to the website, content, photos, that sort of thing. And you never know when somebody can upload a 200 megabyte image, right, to a page just purely on there. So something to keep in mind too. In the overall speed, and we'll talk about this a little bit, but it can fluctuate depending upon the add-on functionality or special functionality that you have on your website. So we'll talk about, we build a lot of websites out in WordPress and work with a lot of WordPress websites. That's something in WordPress referred to as like plugins. So, all right. So I always try to, make a point to say, look, if I'm telling you that you should pay attention to something, if I'm on the other side of the conversation, it's like, okay, well, tell me why. All right, so I'll tell you why. So let's talk about website speed and the impact on conversions. So you can see here, this is a great chart, courtesy of cloudflare.com. As the site time, so this website speed increases, the speed of the page, as that time is higher or it's slower to load, the rate of conversion decreases quite a bit. So just keep that in mind too, is that the first row here, that's 2.4 seconds. The page loads at 2.4 seconds. There's our conversion rate. And so it slowly decreases as the page load time takes longer. So conversions can be impacted. And when I say conversions, that's phone calls and form submissions through the website. And those are important to have. You could also, if you have an e-commerce site, that's also something that's impacted as well, right? Sales. Bounce rate. So you may have heard this stat thrown around a little bit in analytics, but the bounce rate is the number of people who visit one page on your website and leave just after viewing that one page. So it's an indication of a lack of interest in your site. And we tend to look at it in a lot of different ways. But what you need to know is that the page load time increases, the bounce rate increases as well. So the longer we can keep people on our website, the more we can get them to convert. The more good things happen for us overall for our organization, and we're also rewarded in search engine positions, which I'll talk about here now. I'm going to talk about it now. So Website speed. So we always talk about Google. Google owns the majority of the market share for when we're talking about search engine optimization. So Google's kept an eye on your website speed since 2010. They moved more recently in the last few years into making it a ranking factor. So they kind of categorize this under user experience. So again, Google's trying to link up people for their searches to websites that are relevant, but we also need to make sure that they're not sending people to websites that have a poor user experience. So it's something to keep in mind, and I think that was impacted, like I have in the slide here, in 2021. You can also get some really good data. We're going to look at a couple of things in here in a second, but you're going to also get some really good data on website speed, Google Analytics, and Google Search Console. These are free tools that Google provides you with to get some information on your website and how it's performing. And these are areas where you can find more information on there about what's happening on the website. Something else I thought was really cool to mention here too is that these are the average speed indexes or load times of websites in specific industries. So I thought it was interesting just to kind of give a range, and you can see we haven't necessarily talked about, well, John, you're talking about speed. Talk to me about the time I need to be at. I'll talk to you about it in a second. But just note that the majority of these industries fall between 5 to 6 seconds load time overall on their website speed. So again, you're trying to get a head start, not cheating like Jerry, right? We all love Jerry, but he got a little bit of a head start, and we all love it. What's a good load time? Shoot for 0 to 4 seconds. The closer you can get to a second in terms of load time, the better. I know it's kind of crazy to think about, but that's what Google's looking for right now. And that's a way to get an edge on your competition. So what are a couple tools that we can use to detect website speed? I'm going to pull up my browser here. I've got 2 of them here. This one's from Pingdom, which we'll go through here in a second. And then there's another one called Google PageSpeed Insights. So I'll just put in ESPN and note you can test it from any location. We'll give this a second here. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to put ESPN into PageSpeed Insights as well, because these tools do take a second to process. What we're going to see here on Pingdom is it's going to give us just a really quick score on things. And I think this is the place to start because it gives you an overview of like how quickly your website is loading or this page is loading just in general. So it'll give you a grade, it'll give you the load time, and so you can see ESPN loads in just under 4 seconds. And it gets a C. Now we tested it from, this is kind of cool too, is that you can, once you get back to the main screen, you can test different locations. So you can see by default, Washington, D.C. comes up. So, you always start with, testing kind of the region that you're closest to, because that should be, depending upon where your web server is, the area that your site's loading most quickly, and then maybe kind of gradually move away from that. So this is another more sophisticated tool. So start with Pingdom and check it out and get a baseline. The next thing would be to go to Google PageSpeed Insights. And they provide you with a lot of information here, okay? The areas to pay attention to the most here, they start by giving you a snapshot of your website in mobile, and then you can pivot to desktop. The area where you want to start is down below here. So they give you an overall score here. So in in mobile, ESPN has a 15 score, the homepage, and then in desktop, it's 35. And then they start to give you some more, what are essentially technical metrics and how to improve these specific things in your specific score. And I'm not necessarily going to get too deep into that. It is very technical, and you will need to bring into your website person, web development person, even your marketing team to talk to them about this information and take the next steps to try and improve things incrementally. So again, going back, you can see load time was a little bit better for ESPN.com in Washington, D.C. So we went through the Pingdom scorecard. This is the area that I would focus on the most. And then also, this is a snapshot of that ESPN screen. Again, you can pivot between mobile and desktop, and it starts to give you some baseline information on getting more specific information about what you need to change on your website. And it is technical, which I know is frustrating, but you have to have a team of people to come in and bring in and look at it, depending upon how your website's coded out. But it's worth it because it's technical. Most people won't press to really sort through this and try and get the highest score possible. But it is a big opportunity, and depending upon what type of website you have, there are easier paths beyond just having somebody do a technical assessment of it on the website to improving it, especially if you're in WordPress, because there are a number of different plugins that you can use to improve the website speed. Just high-level biggest opportunities out there to improve site speed on individual pages, reducing the size of images. So again, when I had that fun example before of like uploading a ridiculously large photo, certainly there are opportunities to minimize the size of an image in different photo editing programs. The format of the image that's uploaded is also key too, so something to take a look at. Consolidating. So the irony here, right? So I talked to you about WordPress and plugins that will help you with website speed. There are other plugins on your website. If you do have a WordPress website, it's a very popular content management system that you can eliminate. And one of them is, a lot of the times people just add a plugin to pop in the Google Analytics code. Well, the reality is that you can just take the Google Analytics code and add it to the website. So you don't necessarily have to add a whole nother plugin, which can slow the website down. So plugging and playing, no pun intended there, with changing out plugins on your website. Alternative ways to display YouTube videos at site load. That was something that we've been working through initially, because the YouTube videos can slow down the site speed. Definitely worth putting them on there. But there are different, more technical ways to possibly display an image before the video loads. Website caching. So that's something that's really important. Taking precautions and structuring your website to kind of just remember specific areas or preload specific areas so that, the site doesn't take as long. And there's different ways to do that. Certainly when you view it first, that caches different elements if you have it coded correctly, or you can even have the server cache certain elements too. Changing website hosts. So different website hosts specialize in different website content management systems. So, again, we talk a lot about WordPress. There are different website hosting companies that specifically specialize in WordPress hosting, and you'll see your website load faster in those platforms. So I know this is technical and it's, but if you're really trying to turn screws on your website and trying to improve things, this is definitely an opportunity to look at because it can improve the site in so many different areas. So take a look, and if you have any questions, this is my email address, and I'll look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again.